I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews about Wonder Woman 1984. Was it a good movie or was it bad? Let's talk about that right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to Joker's Movie Network. I'm your host Joker, and today I've got my full spoiler review of Wonder Woman 1984. So yes, just to premise that, this entire video is going to be full of spoilers. I'm not going to be doing a spoiler-free review this time. So if you have not seen the movie yet and would like to before having it spoiled, go check it out on HBO Max. It is there until I believe January 23rd, so you should go check that out. Then you can come back and finish this video. This is also my first video of 2021, so I thought that was pretty cool, bringing in the new year with a video on a DC movie, my favorite thing. But before we get into that review, again, last time I'm going to say this will be full of spoilers, so now's your last chance to click away if you do not want to be spoiled. And now into the review. So, Wonder Woman 1984. It was directed and co-written by Patty Jenkins, the director of the first Wonder Woman movie, and stars, of course, Gal Gadot returning as Wonder Woman. The film opens up with a look in Diana's past as she's a young child yet again, going through some Olympic sporting event that we see in the Mascara. In the result of this Olympic event, they end up going through a race in which Diana ends up losing the lead. So to try to get back in the lead, she ends up taking a shortcut. And just before she's able to cross the finish line and claim victory for herself, she is pulled aside and not allowed to finish because she cheated. And is taught a lesson there on the spot that cheating is not the way to get what you want in life, no matter what it is. Which plays into the overlying plot of the movie. The rest of the film takes us through 1984 from Diana's perspective as she is still coping with the loss of Steve Trevor, who at this point has been dead for 66 years, as the first Wonder Woman movie takes place in 1918. So in taking the sequel all the way into 1984, it's very interesting to give us this perspective of Diana and how she's been trying to cope through life without the thing she cared about most, which was Steve. But somewhere in between the 66-year gap, Diana has managed to get herself a job at what I believe is the Smithsonian in the Department of Cultural Anthropology and Archaeology, something that Diana is very interested in as she loves learning about new cultures, which we see as it ties into the position that she holds at another museum later in Batman v Superman. And here we get to see a good representation of what Diana's life is like on a day-to-day basis, being in an environment that she enjoys, which revolves around learning about other people's cultures, which is something she's fascinated by considering she was cut off from the rest of the world most of her life while growing up. However, she's still missing the one thing that she cannot have, which is magically brought back to her through an object that appears in the museum, giving us the main plot. This object is known as the Dreamstone, and it is an ancient relic that was created by the god of treachery and mischief. And the whole premise surrounding it is that the stone will grant any one wish to whoever is holding the stone. In this case, regardless of if you speak it out loud or not. And in the process of being within the presence of the stone, Diana inadvertently wishes to have Steve back in her life, and her wish becomes granted. But everything about this seems to go downhill when Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Lord, shows up and ends up stealing the stone and wishes to become the stone itself, basically absorbing its power. And as a result, he begins to grant the wish of every single person he comes in contact with, and as a result, ends up putting the entire world into pure chaos. And because of this, Diana and the now very much alive Steve Trevor must hunt down Maxwell Lord and defeat him to get the stone back and revert everything. But it is not that simple, because Diana's co-worker, Barbara Minerva, also made a wish on the Dreamstone to be just like Diana in every manner possible. And as a result, turns into Cheetah and has become hell-bent with protecting Maxwell Lord from Diana because she's going to be taking away everything that Barbara now has. Even though that's not who she's supposed to be. As far as characters go, we do have a few side characters, but the main four that we focus on revolve around Diana Prince, played by Gal Gadot. It's Wonder Woman, you know her, you love her. We have Kristen Wiig coming in to play Barbara Minerva, who later becomes Cheetah, and to my understanding is like the arch nemesis of Wonder Woman. We have Maxwell Lord, a man who has created an empire based on oil that doesn't exist, played by Pedro Pascal, and of course Chris Pine coming back in to play the once dead, now alive, Steve Trevor. And they all have very interesting ideas that play into how the story goes, especially Maxwell Lord. He's a man that's trying to be better than what he was as a child growing up. He was picked on, he was bullied, he was never good enough, he was always seen as a loser. So he's trying to make a name for himself by giving people promises for oil that does not exist. So he's got several investors coming in to buy into this company, promising them stock in oil, but the oil rigs that he has set up everywhere are coming up dry and there's nothing to be found. So he's just being seen as a con man. We have the classic trope character of Barbara Minerva, which is the coworker that everyone seems to look past, that she's quirky, she's nerdy, you know, she drops all her stuff on the floor and everyone just walks past her. We've seen that before, so we kind of expect that. We have Steve Trevor, who's really not Steve Trevor, and I'll get into that in a little bit. This does kind of lead into some of the dislikes I had about the movie, and really, it's not anything big that makes me think I don't like the movie. It's nothing that takes away from the action and a lot of the good that the movie has to offer, but it's just two kind of things that just pick at the back of my brain when I'm watching. The first one being Barbara's character trope. While it's something that probably plays into the character better than any other way they could have done it, it's a trope that we've seen so many times before. We see this a lot between all aspects of DC and Marvel, whether it's Jim Carrey's portrayal as the Riddler, or if it's Jamie Foxx's portrayal as Electro. It's all the same concept. It's a coworker that works very hard, it is overlooked by everybody, and because of this, they end up becoming a supervillain. It kind of gives you that thought of like, this could have been avoided if everyone had just treated them nicely kind of thing, but I guess if it worked for the story, then why not? The second thing I didn't like, that's probably the more bigger point of the movie that I was not a fan of, was this Steve Trevor part. Bringing him back was just fine. It's the way that they brought him back that made it just a little uncomfortable to me. They explain it in the movie is that like, it's more like his subconscious just slipped into the body of a person that just happened to be living in Washington, D.C., where all of these events take place. And he just shows up at a party to Diana, and it just, you know, says the last lines that Steve said to her before he went up and died in the plane, to the point where we're just forced to believe that, oh, this is Steve Trevor. To the point where she's just talking to some random guy. The camera spins around a couple times, and then now it's Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. And they even explain that to the point where Steve Trevor's looking in a mirror, and you can see the other actor looking at his reflection. And we can tell that this is the guy that's actually standing there, but to the amazement of Diana and for the audience's sake, we're seeing it as Steve Trevor, even though it is a completely different person the entire time. So I don't know if anyone else in the movie is supposed to see this as some random guy, and Diana is the only one that can truly see him as Steve Trevor, and that's just from the audience just to help us know who it is, or if it's just like some kind of mind game that there's playing so everyone does see what would be Steve Trevor. But the whole thing made it feel a little inauthentic in a lot of scenes where, you know, he's a pilot, that's what he grew up doing. So being in 1984, seeing all of these new futuristic, or modern in this sense, planes that he was never around to see, there's a lot of excitement that he has, but it made me wonder, I was like, this is really cool, but is this actually what Steve would be doing? Is this actually how excited he would be about everything? Or is this just a recreation of Steve Trevor as Diana remembers him being cast onto this random individual? And a lot of that just felt a little weird to me, especially since she ends up staying the night with him, and probably does a little bit more than that. And the fact that it's not really Steve Trevor, but probably just some random guy, it just doesn't sit well with me. Something about that just seems odd. And it was a big point, the fact that we go back to the whole, you can't cheat to get what you want, because the whole point is that now they have to destroy this stone to revert all of the wishes that were granted, or the entire world's gonna fall into chaos and just destroy itself. Showing, again, you can't cheat to get Trevor back because he's not coming back. Steve is dead. He's long gone. It's been 66 years. Keeping him in the real world now is just going to cause everything to go into chaos. On top of that, any wish that you make on the stone ends up taking something as a cost, but it's random depending on the person. In Diana's case, it took a lot of her powers. So she ended up being able to get wounded and lost a lot of her strength, was not able to use her lasso, and it was slowly deteriorating to nothing, to the point where she could potentially just become human, or potentially even crumble to dust. Something similar to probably what would have happened with Black Adam when he called out of his form and went back to normal and just went to dust, because after being in the Shazam body, he stayed in it for hundreds of years. And seeing as Diana ages different because she's an Amazon, I wonder what would have happened had she just kept Steve there and the movie continued to move forward that way. Other than that, I thought the movie was fantastic. The score is absolutely incredible and paints this wonderful picture as we're seeing it happen on screen. There's a very beautiful moment that Diana and Steve share in a jet as they're flying to Cairo, which she turns invisible, giving us the invisible jet of Wonder Woman, and they get to fly through a bunch of fireworks going off because it's the 4th of July, and it's just an absolutely breathtaking shot. There's a lot of great camera work in this movie too, and I do think that Patty Jenkins is a wonderful director, but some of the writing in the movie was a little weak at times, so that could have been a little better. But overall, I don't see a lot of reasons why a lot of people are hating on this movie. A lot of it comes down to the writing, to cheesy acting, to apparently the CGI not looking great, which I never quite understood that. Everyone always compares the DC CGI to the CGI used in Marvel films, claiming that Marvel looks better than DC. Maybe my eyes just aren't trained enough to see that kind of thing, but it doesn't bother me to the point of this movie is bad because the CG is bad. And I know a lot of the time people talk about end credit scenes because Marvel is really well known for that. DC has started to kind of get into that, and we actually have something of a mid-credit roll scene, which is absolutely awesome. The golden armor that we see in a lot of the trailers and in the movie is the armor of a warrior known as Asteria. Asteria was a very powerful warrior from the Mascara, and what happened with her was that they were fighting off the armies of men, and everyone put their armor together to make one suit of armor for her, and because of that, she was able to fend off the entire army. And one of the underlying plots of the movie that we just kind of breeze over is that Diana had tracked down the armor and she was keeping it to give it back to Asteria, but she could never find her. And during this mid-credit scene, we see a woman walking through the streets, stopping a telephone pole from collapsing on a family with just one hand. And we see a golden arm bracer on her, and we can only assume maybe this is Asteria. Turns out it is Asteria, and she makes a quick quirk about, I've been doing this for a long time. And what's really wonderful about this is the actress playing Asteria is Linda Carter, who was the original Wonder Woman back during the Wonder Woman TV series. So as a nice quick cameo, I thought that was absolutely beautiful. But overall, again, I thought Wonder Woman 1984 was a fun movie. Is this something that I'm going to go back and watch over and over again? Probably not, but I will at least consider watching it every now and then. It's not something that I've seen it once and I'm like, all right, cool. Done with that, I never have to do that again. It's something that I thoroughly enjoyed. Could it have been better? Yes. Was it better than the first Wonder Woman? No. But unfortunately, the first Wonder Woman film put that bar so high that getting over it was going to be very difficult. Maybe the third Wonder Woman film will be able to get to that level. Maybe it won't. Regardless, I'm very excited to see where that film takes us and how far of a time gap we're going to get, considering we went from 1918 to 1984. I imagine Wonder Woman 3 will probably be set in modern day, somewhere before or after the Justice League event. So out of 10, I definitely think I'm going to give Wonder Woman 1984 a solid 7. While I do enjoy the movie for the most part, there are some key factors in there that do kind of bring it down for me, but that does not mean that the movie is anything short from awesome. I definitely think that this is a fun comic book movie, as it should be, and is definitely one of DC's better films. But what did you guys think of 1984? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you seen the movie? Have you not seen the movie and you decided to watch the review anyway? Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Are you going to be excited for Wonder Woman 3? Or are you just not that much of a DC person and you're going to just probably brush this one off? If that's the case, that's fine, but let me know in the comments down below. But until any other potential DC news comes out revolving around Wonder Woman, which will probably be the Zack Snyder Justice League cut that we're going to be getting here in a couple months, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie news videos or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.